our nice assistant have a question, so please.
Okay, so yesterday you spoke of this idea when we were speaking about art and going through like the history of art, and how you said that the history of art shows that a new form is possible. And so I'm wondering, is this how you connect politics with art? The idea that if art can show a new form, then politics can also show a new form? And you write about this idea of the end of the order of the given, and moving away from a logical political.
The end of the order of the given.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a very complicated question, but a very important one, because I would say everything depends on how you understand politics. And this is why I like this question, because it gives the opportunity to try to explain what I think is very important about politics. Because there are almost two meanings of politics. One is politics is a name for the whole of the living in common, being in common. And I think this is the way, maybe the way the thing is mostly taken. And this is the way it is obvious to say that everything is political. Then, of course, art is political, and the everyday life is political. But there is another meaning of politics, and the other meaning is as obvious as the first one. That is that politics is a precise, determinate sphere of governing and of law and government. That is not everything about common life, but the way of ensuring the equilibre, how say it, equilibre? Equilibrium of at the same time of the particular interests and forces and of the form of the city. But is the city everything about common life? I think there is a very important matter to make clear, because the way we have the habit to take politics in the first meaning, or I would say mostly we take it in both meaning together or alternatively. Once I can say art is political, or what is political about art, like education, it implies the first meaning, but the 1 minute later I can use politics in the second meaning if I don't know, if I speak of the politic of Israel or the politics of Colombia, etc. Well, so the way which leads to the use of the first meaning is the way we take from the, let's say, from the Greek model. You know that all the time we go repeating that the first democracy has been Athens, and so that the Greek democracy would be quite the absolute model for politics. And this is the idea that the Athenian police, you know, that's the Greek word for city. Police is a root for politics. Police, not the police. But this is the same word, of course. Police, I don't remember where the accent is. So, but I think with this model of the Athenian democracy, there is at the same time something right and something wrong. Right and wrong, it means, yes, you can say right and wrong, or at least mean the Greek democracy has not been the same as the modern democracy. And you have to understand that in order not to enter a confusion about politics. So, what is right about the idea that the Greek city was the whole of the common life? What is right is that the Greek city, the city as such, the polis, came out at this time. So it was not a previous city. You know, the idea of the police comes with the police, and before the police there are no police or police. There are empires and or village, if you want, or small rural communities, and both together, because the empire, the Egyptian empire, Babylonian empire, the Hittite empire, etc., was the big structure, and inside the structure there was several small communities, sometimes with different or partly different cults, religion, and way of living together. And even partly different forms of art, in a certain extent. But precisely the beginning of the police, which is the same as the beginning of the whole Mediterranean civilization, the same as the beginning of philosophy. You know, philosophy and politics are absolutely linked in the same moment and for the same reason. And what is the reason? The reason is the disappearing of, in a way, of everything given. Before you can say, if you imagine precisely not a citizen, but a people of the ancient Egypt, a people of Egypt around 1,000 years before Christ, or 500 years before Plato. People living in Egypt did have a very far relation to the pharaoh, to the sacred power. Power was sacred at the same time. So there is no difference between what we would call politics and religion, but precisely there is no politics there. There is the sacred power. The power is by itself sacred. Once the empires disappeared, and I think the disappearing of the empire here, maybe it could be possible to say that it is like a second step after the disappearing of the sacrifice. So the disappearing of the empire, this is a very, very strange, complex, and even dark question for the historian, how all those empires disappear in a couple of centuries, or 3 or 4 centuries, and there is especially very strange story there about the people of the sea, mysterious people, so-called the people of the sea, which are supposed to come at, to say about the 10th, 11th, 10th century, before, of course before, and came and destroy not Egypt, but Egypt was still weakness, so fall into weakness, but the Babylonian Empire before the Hittite Empire. So there is an end to the empire. That is an end to the given shape of the common life, because at the same time the empire disappeared and the religious cults, sacrifice, etc., of the how to say we say the religion agraire, the religion of the land. Maybe I can say the agrarian religion. So almost everything disappeared. Slowly, of course, one day later. Everything disappeared, and then start the police. And certainly it has at the same time to do with many technical change in the civilization, technical change. Among them, the most important certainly are the invention of the alphabet, the alphabetical writing, and the invention of the money. That all occurs in Babylon, before in Sumer and Babylon. That all makes a civilization, or beginning of a new civilization, where the gods are no longer given, no longer present, and one could say even the Greek gods, are mainly memory of gods, I would say. Athena or Dionysus, Zeus, yes, are the gods that are supposed to be the god, but they are no longer the object of the same belief in their presence as it has been before. And the main mark of that is that something which was the cult and the ritual of Dionysus, that is the play and the song of the, what is the book? La chèvre, la
goat. Goat.
Goat. And the male of the goat, or maybe it's the goat as well.
Goat.
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 Ram. Ram.
Ram.
That's more of a sheep. Ram is a sheep.
Yes. Yes.
Billy goat.
Billy goat.
No. Ram. The book is the male of the goat.
Yeah.
And so the song of the ram is called in Greek, maybe you know, tragedies. Tragedia. Tragedy. Tragedy means the song of the ram. And the ram, of course, was not only an image of Dionysus, it was Dionysus itself. It was, to say, it belonged to the time where, like in Egypt, like in Babylon, so animals, some animals were supposed to be the living presence of God. You see, with the realm, for example, there is another trace of, to say, its divinity, that is its place in the religion of Israel. At the beginning, at the starting moment of Israel. Well, and why do I speak about tragedy? Because tragedy, or tragedy, which wears the name of the song of the realm, tragedy comes out from the ritual of Dionysus, but precisely it comes out from, and like Brecht liked to say, it is by coming out that it becomes tragedy. That is, in a way, it becomes a work of art, and it's in a certain extent, and this is very interesting for us, for our civilization, in a certain extent, tragedy has been, from its first time, that is almost 7th century before, until now, it's a long time. It is, there are now 28 centuries that we still have a kind of special relation or special trend to tragedy, as if we would have lost tragedy itself. All the history of tragedy, I could say, is a tragic history about how would it be possible to have a modern tragedy. It has been the question of Hölderlin, it has been the question of Nietzsche, it has been the question of Brecht, some way. In a certain extent, it has been the question of all people making theater. And theater, and not to speak of Shakespeare, of course, maybe the greatest. And theater is precisely supposed to have been the form of art coming out of the cult, but at the same time becoming the artistic form where the entire city gathered, or in front of which the entire city gathered, and in a certain way operate still a kind of control. So first mark, if you want, of the Greek police. The Greek police has an artistic form which at the same time is a political form, and I would say even more than artistic or political form, this is a form of assembling the people together and celebrating something like a ritual of what? A ritual of the city itself, a political ritual. In addition to the tragedy, there are in Athens many other kind of what we could call in the modern language a civil religion. So that means twice. First, the police comes with the end of at least of the religion, as of, to say it very roughly, the end of the religion as communication with forces and presences in the world. Real presence, like the presence of the realm, or many other things, even plants, etc. First, but second, this end is at the same time, or open at the same time, the possibility of the police as a kind of civil religion, that is a political religion. There's Athenian democracy is a kind of religion. But the first time there is such a kind of religion, maybe in the history, and in addition, but this religion is only for the citizen of the polis. And who are the citizens? Here starts a second very huge difference with us. The citizens of the polis are the free men. That is, they are not the women. Don't to speak of free or not free women, they are women. That means not free, not equal to the men. They are not the slaves, and they are not the stranger to the city, who are called the maître. I don't know if you use this word in English. In French we say maître. It's become in a kind of insult, not by chance. But maître has the meaning in Greek of not belonging to the house, to the family. That is the not belong. That is people from other places and Athens. That is that the Athenian democracy is a very small one and a very close one. It is absolutely close on itself. And it is very far to have the character of the democracy as we understand it. So, I think politics in the Greek meaning, but that is the meaning we kept in a way until now, at the meaning of the city as the place where the true life of the people can express itself and can even give to itself the forms of its common existence, that is mainly tragedy, and in addition to the tragedy, all the Greek art. In a certain way, in the Greek art, I think it is not too much to say that it has been no work which would not have been political in a way. I mean, the statues play political role. Maybe not all the painting, as you know, we have not very much of the Greek painting, very few, but we know many things about painting by writing, and of course there are painting, even painting which belongs to private people. But besides, the private people in the Greek democracy has not the same meaning as for us. You know, private people. If you take one free man in the city, this man, Socrates, Plato, Alcibiades, etc., Gorgias, all those people that are the citizens are only the free man. They spend their time, or a good part of their time on the agora, on the public space. They together, they elect their, some of them to be the governor, the lawyer, or the making law, because nomothetes, and the lawyer of the city. There are at the same time eventually professor of rhetoric, that is to use the logos to discuss, etc., etc. And the rest of the common life, that is, once again, the women in the houses, the children, the slaves, and the stranger, they do not take part in this common life. They come to the spectacle of the tragedy, yes, but even there, so they don't have the status as a free citizen. So that has a very important meaning. That is that the first shape of politics has been at the same time a kind of religious shape and artistic shape. The civil religion or political religion and political art. Yes, I forgot to say, that the tragedy, that is all what was needed to put a tragedy on the scene, that is all the production of a tragedy, was a duty for some citizen. It was part of the duties called liturgy, and liturgy was a kind of tax. This is public tax. So you are a rich citizen. You have to pay for, and it was a lot to spend to the spectacle of the tragedy of the year, because it was each time 3 tragedy and 1 what was called a dithyramb, that's a kind of comedy. So you have to pay for 4 spectacle and for everything. It was not so expensive as to make a film, but it was expensive. So imagine if today the American citizen was taxed and forced to pay to make film in Hollywood, But, so there is something which comes from there, certainly, which is what we call the mécénat. You use this term, mécénat, or that comes from Rome. Mécène was a very rich man and a friend of August, the first emperor, and Mécène gave a lot of money for artistic goals, and since this time, I'm certain it should be term in English, because mécénat, the way rich people, rich companies as well, may give money for art, and in many cases, especially in America, so some tax are subtracted from the company or from the individual for the sake of giving money for art. So it shows that there is still a link between art and politics. But the main thing I want to insist on is that this link in the Greek city, this link is a natural, if I can't say natural, you understand what I mean. It is given with the first status of the city, and it is inherent to the city itself. So it belongs to a city which exists as a city only under those two conditions: to be very small and limited with regard to the role of the people, and second, that there is something like a political religion, even if this religion is no longer the religion as a communication with God's presence somewhere, but this is a religion because there is a cult, there is a ritual, etc. This way of civil, of political religion did have its main form with Rome. I think Rome is the most successful city in the history with a political religion, because in Rome occurs something which is maybe almost a unique case in the history, at least of Western, because on certain point of view, it has been the same with the Chinese Empire, but in a yes, very different manners. But so the difference between Rome and Athens is that Rome itself, the thing, if you want, Rome, become like a god for Rome itself. The Roman Republic is if not somebody, it is something, it is some being to which the Roman people pay tribute and have a cult. As long as Rome has been a republic, and precisely that did have an end, like in Athens. Athens is more complicated because I didn't say that, but I should add that the Athenian democracy was sick almost from the starting point. We have no real history of the happy and harmonious Athenian democracy. We all the time speak of Athens as a city, peaceful, harmonious, or with tragedy, with the Olympic Games, which was between the big cities. But it almost never occurs. Or it was more or less the case until the end of the war against Persia, because as long as it was the war, Athens becomes the leader of the Greek cities, and in the position of fighting against Persia, it gives certain stability to Athens and to the other cities like Sparta, etc. But after the end of the war, started what already started before, that is internal fighting in the city, and nobody was happy with the city. And the main testimony we have of the miscontentment of the Athenian against Athens is nothing else than Plato. The big books of Plato are the Republic, that is in Greek Politeia, and the Law, which is an even bigger book. And Politeia and the Law of Plato is the entire project of a good, a right city, because the existent city is not good, not right, it's full of problem. What does it mean? That means that philosophy started as a project to build a better city, which means the first city was already not the best. And what means a better city? That means the idea of a city regulated by the good, the real good. And and what is remarkable in Plato's Politeia and the law is that Plato wants to introduce a strong regulation about art. No tragedy in the city of Plato. You know, the whole history of Plato and tragedy is a history, you have a lot of books about that, you know. Plato first did write tragedies, and the real history or the legend partly is that he did burn this tragedy at some time because he wanted to do something else. And what else? That is to go definitely beyond beyond the religion and beyond all the stories, the mythological stories in the tragedy, which are lies, as Plato states, lies because Plato, not alone, but Plato was part, and then because the most important part in the movement of what was called the sophists. And the sophists were the people learning to the good use of the logos, but the good use may mean the strong use, to be the most strong in using the logos, the best orator, the best speaker, and then at the same time the best maker of law. But if Plato would present as a beginning of philosophy, at least he did not invent the word philosophy, but he said himself it was invented by Thales to say, I am not Sophos, I do not pretend to be Sophos, that is why, and having the knowledge at the same time. But I like Sophos, Sophos, philosophia. I like, or I love, I desire the Sophia. And that means that philosophy starts, I would say, starts in the distance, in the lointain, éloignement, to be far. I can't say farness, no. Why not? The éloignement, the distance, the distance of an ideal. That is, the logos, I would say the logos maybe is the first thing which could have the same position as a god, if you like. But precisely is not a god because the logos is in the distance which is the own distance. The logos is the way we have to take to to produce the truth by logical ways, and that is with the possibility of giving account of what I am saying. It is not the absolute difference between God and Logos, I could say, is that God is the one I don't have to give account of him or her. He or she is there. Logos is precisely what I have to give account of what it is. In that way, you see how important and interesting it is that Christian God will later be named Logos, namely in the Gospel of John, and after that, it played such a huge role that Logos is Christ, Logos is in Latin verbum, and I spoke to that about Augustine, I think, and that is God. God, on one side, the Christian God or the Jewish Christian God becomes a God from whom, in a certain way, we have to give account. We have to give a reasonable recognition. This is only part of this God, but well, okay. And then I come back to Rome. I would say Rome is a second essay.
Attempt.
Attempt, thank you. It's a second attempt of the antiquity to build a city which could be the whole of the common life. That is, you see, once again, an attempt to replace the whole of the life which was previously given by the gods and the presence of the gods and the ritual of the gods. Rome is what is almost incredible is that Rome is at the same time a very rational city. Rome, as you know, is a city of the civilization, of the law. Athens invented the law, but Rome developed the law in an extent which made that still today the Roman law is a model of law. You know, there are two models of law around the world. That is the Roman law, the droit romain, which is the heritage for the Latin countries, and the Nordic, English, German, Anglo-German law, which is the law given by the custom and not by the written law. Rome is the city of the written law, and which is the written law of Rome, was a huge of books of law, the written law, and at the same time, Rome is on the side of the rationality, there is a law, there is at the same time all the organization, you know, the organization of the Roman army, which is well known, being a model of organization, and the fact that until in the modern age, entire cities, especially in America, was built according to the plan of the Roman military camp, with two axes and then all concepts. New York is a Roman military camp. New York or Los Angeles. And so, an enormous amount of technical rationality, because Rome is not a city of science. Science, mainly mathematics, has been Greek, not Latin. And at the same time, Rome has been, I think, the most religious city, the most poly-religious city in the history. In the Rome, at the time of the beginning of Christianity, there has been, I don't know, maybe 100 of religion in Rome, maybe more, I don't know, but it was a lot of different religion, and all ancient religion, and especially mystery religion, like religion of Isis, the religion of Mitra, religion of Theos, etc. All those religions which came from the most ancient time, because in Athens, at the same time there was the political religion, the religion of with mystery still did exist and was so did not belong to the religion of the city, but was protected by and admitted by the city. Still in Athens, Dionysian ritual, the mystery of Eleusis, etc. So in Rome, it becomes at the end an enormous variety of religion, but that means that the whole people of Rome, at the same time, the people of the citizens of Rome was not exactly like in Athens, but partly was reserved people, not the slaves. Now, with the woman, it was a little different because the mater of the family has a special civic role, But at least the slaves and the foreigner did not have the right to be a Roman citizen. But the change toward Athens was that Rome, so the government of Rome, was able to give the title of Roman citizen to anybody he wants. For example, a well-known example is Paul of Tarsus, the post-disciple of Christ, who became a Roman citizen, and for that reason he was able to ask to be judged in Rome and not in Palestine. Well, so Rome has been, I would say, it's difficult to say, Rome has been something like, I would say, at the same time in acme or the climax of the political as the world, as the entirety of common life. And this is why the end of Rome was such a drama, if not a tragedy in the proper sense, for the Roman, because the Roman people, they did live absolutely only of Rome, but at the same time they feel a lack and a growing lack of what? Of sense, not of happiness, but of meaning. And to be a Roman, this meaning becomes more and more a juridical one, an imperialistic one, of course, but at the same time, like an historian wrote at the beginning of the 19th century, it was later quoted by Freud in his book about Moses and the monotheism. At the end of Rome, the end, that means two centuries before Christ, a kind of melancholy, writes this historian, I don't remember his name, a kind of melancholy seems to come over the whole Mediterranean people. So Rome, Mediterranean people was mainly Rome and other people under the government of Rome. What melancholy? I think this melancholy is very important because this melancholy, which opens the way to Christianity, this melancholy is the failure of the politics as a whole. And I would say, so to be, of course, very simple and rough, I would say from that point, at least from the end of Rome, or before the end, because takes many centuries until the end of Rome. I think from this point, the failure of politics to be or to replace the relation to the gods as a presence has been, I would say, definitive. And what starts at this point? It starts something called Christianism, and is the main feature of Christianity or Christianism is precisely the separation between the city and religion. You know, if there is something important in Christianism, it is the distinction between the two kingdoms. There is the kingdom of the world and the kingdom of the heaven. Later, once again, Augustine will write the book, The City of God. Not by chance, you know, The City of God is a book in a certain way. Perhaps it is the main book in the level of the theory of Augustine. The City of God is a way to take the absolute distinction between the city of the world and the city of God. And then the city of God names or takes the name of city as a metaphor, an image. But to say that the city of the world, the political city, may never become what the city of God is, that is the real common life, the real life. In a way, the city of the world is not a living city, it's not a spiritual living city. So I will not develop that a long time, but I think that it is very important, and I have to say that this separation between the two kingdoms, like it is in the gospel, you pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. And my kingdom is not from this world, etc., etc. And at the end, when Christ goes up at the beginning of what's called the act of the apostle, when he is on the edge to go to heaven, the apostle asked him, when will you come back and restore the kingdom? Because until this point it was still considered by the apostles themselves as a Messiah, that is, the Messiah was the one supposed to come at a certain point and restore, I can't say restore, the kingdom of Israel. And the Christ answered, that's not your task, or you don't have to pay attention to that. You don't have to know, he said, chronos kai kairos, what means you don't have to know the times and the opportunity, this kairos, which seems to mean, if I am the Messiah, I come when I want to come, and you don't have to think about that. But otherwise, and this is the real meaning for Christ, it means I don't have to do with that. I am not the Messiah in the meaning of the political chief of Israel coming back. I am something else. I belong to another kingdom. And so just it good to add that this separation between the two kingdoms is nothing absolutely new with Christianism. It is something which started in Judaism itself. That is something which started in Israel from the time of the prophet. The opposition between the prophet and the king and the great priest is a starting point for a history which in Israel leads to the formation of the kind of the kind of community, the small community, Jewish communities like the Essenian, to which John the Baptist is supposed to be part of, and to which, of course, Jesus, in a certain way, was linked. So all that was a movement of intern reformation of Judaism, and this reformation was principally focused on the separation between the two kingdoms, if you want. It was not called that way in Israel, but it was separation between the political power, between the people of Israel as a people like other people, as a nation and a government, etc., and the people of Israel as the people of God and the spiritual people, if you want. So, of course, you understand that all that has enormous importance for all the story after that. And then all our modern story is the story linked with Christianity. And we have the habit to think that we did live in a theological, political way. But it is not right. It is not right. All our story is a story where one thing is true, that is that the Christian church, for a long time only the Catholic Church, and then the different Protestant churches, did have all the link we know with the political power. Everything, in all the manner, supporting political power, making alliance with it, or pretending to be itself, the church, a political power, which it is still now. The state of the Vatican exists still now, but to name it a power is a little or absolutely metaphoric. But what we don't pay enough attention is that on one hand, the modern political power, when I say modern political power, I say since Carolus Magnus, or even before, but to start with him is enough, it's already 800, so with Carolus Magnus starts something which all the time, all the time until Hitler, it has been in Europe the attempt to restore the Roman Empire, to restore it under the name of the Holy German Roman Empire. But the holy there is only a kind of label to take the attention and the love and the respect of the Christian people. But the history of the modern politics shows very clearly that all the attempt of the politics was to separate itself from the church. And this is particularly clear, say, in two cases. In the cases of England, because England became, in a very particular way in Europe, England became a land with a political religion that is cut itself from Rome and invented a religion, namely the Anglican religion, which in a certain way is not only separated from Rome, but is a religion who make a shift, complete shift from the separation between religion and state to a state religion which is a very special case among European religion, which maybe give a certain inspiration and origin for the American foundation, which has been as well a civil and religion foundation, but even in the ground of the English or American foundation, or new foundation, away from foundation, there is something which still belongs to the separation of the realms. Because it's never said that, it is said that the King of England is the chief of the Anglican Church, but the religious life of the English people is not their political life, and this is even it becomes more clear in the way the English king is a constitutional king. So it became a constitutional king after being killed as a king. England has been the first European country to kill its king. That is killing the king is a way to take a last beat, I would say, to confirm the separation between church and state. And that is why France did that, the second, and in the definitive way, because France, by doing that, France affirmed something totally new, that is the democracy now in the modern meaning, and that is democracy having all people as people of the democracy. There's no longer slaves, no longer. I know at the time of the French Revolution, the women and even the people who without money did not have the citizenship. It takes time that until now. I don't remember exactly now. But at least with the Third Republic, every French people was a French citizen. But the women in France did have the right to vote only after the Second War. No? So very, very late. But which means something very interesting, that is even the modern democracy as the democracy of everybody, every people in a common city, every people as a citizen of the common city. That is politics again as the whole of the common life was the idea of the foundation. It is the idea you can clearly read in Rousseau. But this foundation came after all the long time where political and religion, despite the enormous amount of links between both, have been still in the ground and spiritually separated. And so I said the political did everything possible to take religion on its side, and the church did the same on its side. But you have to pay attention to the fact that inside of the church, it has been all the time in different way, different movement and different spiritual movement, attitude, behavior, etc., against the political role of the church. And if something happened, I would say, mainly to the Catholic Church, that is the final recognition that the Catholic Church has not to be the religion of a state. And the principle of, one main principle of the modern democracy is that a state shall not have its own religion. A part of something, what Rousseau calls the civil religion, in the last chapter of the social contract, so the last chapter is the civil religion. And then Rousseau says, after establishing the law, the government, and many principles of the contract, then we have to make that all the law and the government we have to make that sensible to the heart of the citizen. That means something, and for me, very important. That means politics as such, as the rational organization of the power, the government, the law, is not sensible to the heart, or not enough. But all the question of patriotism, of nationalism, if you want, is there. And you know that no one, I would say European country, but in a way, no country succeeds to build a civil religion. Only, not only one, but at least two, more than two countries did something like a civil religion in the modern time, and that has been the fascist countries. Fascism is, in the ground, is maybe certainly not a civil religion, because the fascism, the very idea of fascism is something beyond, precisely beyond the distinction between politics and religion. And it is, and that's the reason for what fascism did not come by chance. Fascism came as a reaction to the weakness of democracy, precisely the weakness of democracy to give a sense of life, or for life, to the totality of the citizen. And now I come back to the art. So you understand that the story of the art here is very complicated, intricate, because the art, through this whole story, and I would say from the tragedy to what? Maybe until the point certain government and certainly France is one of the first in that way. You know, the French government is still has still the preoccupation to have its own art. You know, it is well known that each French president, until Sarkozy, maybe Sarkozy has nothing to do with art. And even Chirac, I don't know what I can say about Chirac. But you know, all the previous presidents, they wanted to have their own work of art, like the pyramid of the Louvre, like the Beaubourg. Beaubourg was the work, to say that, of Pompidou. The pyramid, they were Mitterrand, of course. And so this was the tradition of the King of France to be not only in the mécénat, as I said before, but it's more than mécénat. It is to express the glory of the political power through works of art. But I would say the official art, the art working with the command of the state, is precisely on the side of politics something which is ambiguous, because it is clear, and I think it was clear all the time, so all the centuries, that a form of art, a work of art, but can never be either be reduced to be the expression of the political power, nor not to be reduced, but to express and to present the whole, the entire highness and glory of the power. And why? Why? Because precisely the highness, the glory of the political power is all the time, and despite all the kind of religious feature linked to politics, is all the time perceived as being the power. And the power giving the security, the force to the exchange between the citizens, but not giving the sense of the common life. Of course, it is very complicated. It is a question to know in what extent the French people, to take them, to what extent they did receive something, somewhat feeling, understanding of their common life through the image of the king. You know, this is something Bataille. Bataille was very fascinated by that, and Bataille said, yes, especially Louis XIV, you know, what was called the Sun King. So the glory of the Sun King was for Bataille something that from which the light did give something to all the people of France. All the people, by respecting the king in some religious way, did take part to the glory of the king. But Bataille himself finished, remember the page of Bataille, which is very moving in a way, because having spoke for the Pharaoh until Louis XIV, he stopped and said, but at the end, all this story was a story of domination, oppression, and so on. So the taking part in the glory of the king, in a way, was true, but maybe was false at the same time. And you know, if you read the description of the life of the people in the country, in France, at the time of Louis XIV, you know, there was an Englishman who made a travel in France. I don't remember his name, and describes the people in the country. It's terrible. He said, "I've seen it. It was most terrible in France and in England." He said, "I've seen people living like pests, eating roots in the grass." You know. He is totally afraid with the spectacle of France. And France at the same time was the biggest power in Europe, the army, the construction of fortresses, the gun power of Louis XIV. You know, the cannon, you say the cannon? Cannon of the French army at this time did have this written on the cannon, Ultima Ratio Regis. That is the last reason of the king. That is a good expression of what has been the power attempting to challenge the religious power, but never being a religious power. That is why, because this morning you mentioned me, Schmidt. That is why I frequently I've said and written that there is a big mistake which is often made about Schmidt, because Schmidt made the expression of political theology, and everybody, or many people, believe that Schmidt is referring to what today a lot of people call political theology, or the theological politics. It is very, very frequently said, theological politics. And everybody understands that the power before democracy has been a theological political one. But this is not true. It is not true. It has been a lot, as I said, it has been a lot of links between both, between theological and political power, but the tools inside of that has already all the time, be a fight between both and rivalry between both. And so there's a continuation of the meaning, the spiritual meaning of two kingdoms and the two swords, as you might say, even in the Middle Age. So, what Schmidt means is something quite different. The political theology for Schmidt is politics made according to the shape of the theological power of the church, that is copying the organization of the church. Schmidt understood that there is something in the church that gives maybe the best way for a government, and the best way because Schmidt take out and put at the first place something which was developed by politician theorists, mainly by the first of them is Baudin, Jean Baudin, in the 15th century. That is the principle of sovereignty. And sovereignty was, of course, was taken to the power of God, God is the sovereign. Sovereign means the one upper which, or upper whom, there is nobody or nothing. The sovereign is the absolute sovereign. Sovereign comes from superaneus. Superaneus, that is over everything. Super. Superman, but even super than man. So, but the principle of sovereignty, this is something that Schmitt did know very well, but that most of the people don't know or forget. The principle of sovereignty in Baudin, which is an important part of the foundation of the theory of the modern state. The principle of sovereignty is a total non-religious one, because if the king or the prince, or even for Baudin, the republic as such, because already at the time of Baudin, you have things like republics, that is aristocratic republic, like Venice, for example, and other cities. The principle of sovereignty means precisely that the king, the prince, the republic is not submitted to God.